Streamers, are you ready to go pro with Restream Studio? So if you're not familiar, Restream Studio is the easiest way to go live super quickly, super simply, with graphics, comments on screen, all kinds of features that we're going to show you today. And we really want to dig into making sure that you can look as professional as possible with Restream Studio and also brand new features. Oh my gosh, brand new features that you might love, love, love. So if you're new around here, please do type new in the comments. I would love, love, love to meet you. And if you don't know me, hi, I'm Laria Petrucci from Live Streaming Pros, where we help you create professional live video that's uniquely you. And I am so excited to bring on my guest for today, the Anya from Restream. Welcome. Wait, you're muted. Did you mute yourself? She was talking to somebody.
I did. I'm so sorry. I had such an amazing and epic appearance. Like, oh my God, thank you. And then I'm like, oh shit, I'm muted. Never mind. Wow, thank you for the presentation. This is the best kind of like intro, like the ramp for me to enter a video I've ever had in my entire life. So I'm so shocked and surprised and happy. Thank you.
You know what, Anya? We've been talking for a very long time, and I don't know what your official title is. I just know you as the Anya, like the awesome Anya from Restream.
Yeah. I think tech companies specifically in general, should introduce that title to people. Like,
yes,
at some point, your startup reaches the point where you need the Anya. And you just hire the Anya, and then you figure out who she reports to. But that's just, that just happens.
That's just so. No, David, this is not pre-recorded. I did not do a countdown timer because Anya actually had to finish up a stream for herself, and we were just running a little late to getting started. So no, not pre-recorded. We were going to be taking all of your questions. As you can see, this is one of the things that you can do is post comments on screen with a Restream. So we're going to go over all of the brand new features that Restream has been releasing lately. And also we're going to demo some of the features that you might not know about. So if you're looking to get started and look really pro with Restream Studio, like I said, it's the easiest way that you can go live. It's cloud-based, right? So you just log onto the browser and it's really simple to get started. It's almost no learning curve. How do you explain Restream?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. So Restream right now, when we offer our narrative to our community, I personally explain Restream as the easiest and the kind of like the fastest way for you to create live video experiences for your community. And this should be part of your marketing strategy on social media. So like that's kind of the very, very high level explanation. And then you can dive a little deeper of how you can build communities, how you can engage people through live streams, and how many different types of live streams you can actually run in something like Restream Studio. From product launches to interviews, what we're doing right now, actually a hybrid of the two, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about different products, and we're also hopefully having fun and sharing some personal stories about different things. And of course, you can do flash sales. Of course, you can do behind the scenes. Actually, one of my most successful kinds of live streams are just this, right? Like, hey, this is my space. This is my creative process. This is how I prepare for my interview or something like that. People love that kind of stuff because it's like a little sneak peek, right?
Yeah.
So basically, however you want to engage your community, your audience, your customer base, your partners through live video experience, Restream is one of the tools that can make it very easy and can make you look good.
Yes. And as I had put there on the screen, that's another thing that you can do, by the way, overlays. And she'll show you how to do this. Do you want me to go ahead and share the screen? But yeah, so Restream does have a $10 credit for you if you would like to get started. And she's going to show you kind of where that is, right? So this is the main dashboard, and then she's just going to enter Live Studio. So there's so much to Restream. It's not just the ability to go live, simulcasting, there's analytics. Oh my God, I love the analytics so much.
We'll definitely get there.
We'll get to all of the things.
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, let's start. I guess since you mentioned the overlays, that's a good one. So I am personally a big fan of thinking about your live stream as an experience, right? Like it's a little bit of a show. It's a production. So you want to make sure that your audience is stuck to the screen and they're interested in what you're showing. And a lot of that is your messaging. A lot of that is your content. Like Lori is an amazing expert in live streaming and video production, right? Like, so whatever she has to say is already very interesting. But people these days have a span of attention of a goldfish, right? And you kind of have to constantly be, hey, look what I got. And that's where overlays, in my opinion, and just graphics exactly come in place. So I'll show you a couple of overlays, actually a couple of new ones that we just released. It's a season. It's my personal project, so I'm super proud, like ridiculously proud of it. So we have some spring overlays, right? Just look at that, like how hilarious they are. So you can put overlays like this, and they are actually, you see, and you can turn them on and off, and depending on the type of the layout that you're using, you can actually I don't have another person with me here, but
Right.
yeah, let me just quickly. So yeah, if I had another person, you would see the background, but like that's one way
Stuff, yeah. But
to
they're
do
seeing the
it.
background on mine, so.
Exactly. So you see like how these different overlays can actually create like a little frame for you, and some of those overlays can actually be super branded. You can actually put certain things that are related to your specific show, or it could be your guest. Like that's exactly the overlay that I used earlier for my creator spotlight show, which I also have to change the logo for that. So that's this is my guest, and that was me, right? Like so that's also an overlay, and there's a
That would
spotlight.
essentially look like this, where your overlays that you were just showing are showing up on each of our
Exactly.
sides. Our sides.
Exactly. Yep, totally,
Okay,
totally,
cool. Let me go
exactly.
back to here.
Yeah, and other than that, of course, like you can have all kinds of branding. You can just have fun with those overlays, and there are a couple ones that we kind of give to you, so you can just use the set ones. Some of them have restream branding. Some of them are just like the spring ones. They're just seasonal, and of course, you can always create your own. All you need to remember is just to create some transparent space for you, and you can create them in Canva, in Figma, in Keynote. There's so many different programs that allow you to do that. And then you can create your own little lower third or like sides like this ones. And you can put your logos there. You can put your message there. Sometimes you can have your show name there maybe, and just some theme if that's part of your thing. And those are, and when you turn them on and off, that creates a dynamic experience for the viewers.
It really does.
Yeah.
So as you can see, we have a background here that has our logo, right? And this is where Pro comes in, guys. You can use all the functions, but if you don't actually put some forethought into what it is you're putting on camera, like what frames and backgrounds and imagery that you want, then it probably won't look very good, right? But you can do simple things like I just added my logo to the top up there.
Right there.
There we go.
I have to do that job for you with this layout.
Yeah, you do.
Right there.
Right? Or we can do things like when we talk about the fact that the reason that Restream is so awesome to get started super quickly is because you are dealing with the fear of Lamb, live adrenaline monster, and this guy gets tamed by taking action, right? So you don't have to worry about super complex setups. You can get live really quickly, tame this monster. Right? So, oops, I hit the wrong button.
I was like, is it coming? I want to hug.
Yeah, is it coming? Yeah, here, there you go. We can put one on there for you. There you go.
Oh, cute. Cute.
So you can really think through, what graphics you're putting, how you're labeling, the lower thirds that she was just talking about, call to actions, things like that. So I'll let you keep going. I just wanted to point out, I wanted to show off our graphics. Let's be honest. I just wanted to show off.
You have a great selection of different things that I don't necessarily have. Like the monster, like I'm totally stealing that, by the way, but that's amazing. Yeah, like this little thing popping up in the middle of your stream, of your conversation. That's great. That's exactly what I was talking about, that hey moment, right? When people are doing something else and kind of watching you with their rare vision, like that really helps to focus them and bring them back. So you got to use it wise. You can't just constantly throw monsters on people if you have an hour and a half stream. But it's great. And of course, calls to action. Like those are great opportunities for you to use overlays to say, hey, I really want you to follow me. hey, I really wanted to ask questions right now, which I see the chat is exploding. So
I know we've got so many questions.
So many questions. I would love to also make sure we include folks in the conversation, because I would love to answer the questions from the community. Like that's the type of streams that I usually run. Like my typical show is a Q&A session when it's just, like people just like jump on and say, where is this feature? And you're just like, okay, let's talk about it. So
Renee says, if you have an accent, you're automatically treated as 20% more intelligent by people used to American TV accents. True. She does sound much more intelligent, right?
It is so funny because that's a British people thing. Like if you have British accent, you automatically get that. And I actually have a couple of people on my team who are British. I'm just like, great. Like, you're smart by default. But with my accent, we can talk about that too at some point. Like I like to ask people to guess where I'm from, and because people have a very hard time, they cannot geographically position me.
It's kind of
for
hard,
whatever reason. It is, and but sometimes people who are used to Slavic accents, they're kind of like, you sound like James Bond girl. Like that's how you sound, and like, all right, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm originally from Russia, if everyone wonders. But yeah, so I've been in the United States for 10 years, so my accent is a mixture of some generic European. And for Europeans, American, new people in your stream kind of ask me how was I born in Austin? I'm like, no, but now I feel like I am. So yeah, thanks for letting me know about the accent. It's really funny. That's very much in line with what you teach on Uniquely You, right? Another little side story. The longest time I was really conscious of my accent, and I thought that live video or streaming or any kind of performing or public speaking is not for me because I don't sound. Like I don't speak properly, right? I can make mistakes, I make weird sounds. Like some people don't understand what I'm saying altogether. I'm pretty sure like half of my team gets like 90% of what I'm saying, best case scenario. But then I realized that makes me unique, right? Like that makes me sound different. And in the saturated world of content, what do you need more than stand out? So yeah, that's how I learned to own it. So now I'm kind of like, yes, every time when people mention that, I'm like, you got it.
I love that. Yeah, Anya Bond.
People are so awesome.
So before we go into some of the other features, real quick, there were a couple of questions that we can tackle now, and then we'll jump into an actual Q&A session later.
Yep.
But Paul Burke wanted to know, can you go live on your phone with Restream?
You can, but it's going to be an interesting experience. Speaking about pro, and again, referencing something that you taught earlier, there are different levels of live streaming, right? Like you like to tell people how your phone is your very basic level. So the quality of your sound, the quality of your video is going to be appropriate to that level. And when you upgrade to the browser and then you upgrade to like a professional studio, like something that Fox News or whatever CBS News will have, you constantly improve that quality and level up like, all aspects of live streaming, audio, video, visuals, everything. So you can go live. Restream currently doesn't have an application like an app, so you'll have to use your browser to do that, and you can run a stream. But remember that your phone, that little bitty machine that was not necessarily designed to power a stream with guests, with shared screens and things like that. And also your phone is not necessarily designed to constantly keep a great level of internet that you would have if you are wired, right? Like if you're using Ethernet or something like that. So it's going to be a little bit more jumpy, and you are going to limit yourself in terms of the quality of your video and audio. And more you add on, if you get more guests, if you try to share screens, if you try to have multiple tabs open, more load it's going to be on this teeny tiny CPU, and more difficult the outcome is going to be if you're shooting for the stars. So you can do it, but I recommend for the best experience to kind of stick to that good old laptop and and enjoy a slightly better performance than your phone would ever do.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about comments, because this is like I've seen several questions about comments. Carlos wants to know when will you be adding the ability to queue up comments?
Queue up comments. I wonder what that means. So basically when you have a running chat like the one that we have right now, so like if you could basically create a queue of or mark them.
Essentially, like my team is actually gathering all of the questions. So if I miss questions, I see them here still that we can answer them. And that's my queue. But if there was a way to essentially like, let's say you're saying something important, I don't want to interrupt and I don't want to lose that comment, I can just click add to queue, and then I can gather that later. So that's kind of what we're talking about there.
It's amazing. That's a great feature request. And I like how you kind of transformed it from like, let's mark comments, because what we are developing right now and what we're going to release relatively soon is something that I call pinning. So like you can
Yeah.
pin a comment that you like. So instead of creating a queue, you just put a little, basically like a pin sign next to it. So, and then just kind of like sticks on top of your chat. And then all the other comments come in, but the ones that you think that are especially great or need attention or you want to come back to them, you just pin them as you would pin your map, right? Like the
Yeah.
city that you visited recently. But I do understand that sometimes the number of those comments is just so big that you actually
Mhm.
need not just a pin, but a queue.
Yeah.
So I love that feedback. I'll definitely send it over to our product team. So the pins coming soon, the queues, something that we will look into very carefully. And I
Okay.
greatly appreciate that feedback. That's amazing.
See, they listen to you guys. They listen. I love this. Um,
Yeah.
and a new feature alert. I'm just going to go ahead and pull it out. I know we're not ready
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
Chat overlay. Go ahead and comment, guys. Comment, comment, comment.
Here we go. Yes, yeah. So like it's gonna overlay the new ones. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Here's Paul, the first one. Thanks. It'll be an interesting experience. Laughing face.
So
Yeah.
as chats come in, you can display your chats on screen. I I always get a little nervous with this. I will be 100% honest. Everybody's now
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, I want to get on screen."
Of course. Yeah.
um,
Cool.
sometimes if you have an out of hand chat, you might want to not use this if there are a lot of trolls and people trying to get stuff seen on screen that they shouldn't. But if you have a well-behaved, hi mom, if you have a well-behaved chat, then you could play with it. Just be aware that people sometimes try to
Yeah.
get things seen, but I think it's cool.
I think it's really interesting how you mentioned that, because I always like to say that chat overlay is a little bit of a brave move, right? If you don't know your community, or if your community is so huge that you don't always know what people are going to do, it's brave to put it on there, because guess what? It's going to stay on your replay, right? And whatever people put there, it's just going to be there. But
Exactly.
remember, in Restream Studio, you have the opportunity to actually censor, I guess, or block some comments.
Yeah.
So if you go to your chat section and kind of like right click, you will see the option block, give timeout, just completely remove that person, hide the
Yeah.
comment. So you kind of have to be fast in that, because if it's already on overlay, it's too late a little bit, but you have a little bit of the opportunity to do that there. But yeah, other than that, I think what is amazing about chat overlay is that people from Facebook can see people from YouTube, right? Like, so they can see not necessarily the highlighted comments, but everything that
Exactly.
people are saying. So
Yeah.
that creates this opportunity to have a conversation between audiences, viewers on different platforms, and that's just amazing.
Yeah, it kind of brings the whole, like if you're simulcasting, it brings that community together as a whole, as opposed to two separate communities, which is actually pretty powerful. And as you can see, I mean, we were getting a lot of comments before already, but you notice that as soon as I put that on, people were like trying to get seen, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that creates engagement. So if you're having a harder time with engagement, you can really get people uh, people want to be seen. We are human beings. We want to be seen, right?
Yeah,
And so if you tap into that, you can have a lot of fun with it. Except for when Mike
absolutely.
Cohn tries to reach me about my car's warranty. That was a joke.
Oh my god, I was looking for it. No, that's
Oh,
great.
it was earlier while you were
Yeah.
talking. As Carlos says, it triggers people to comment. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, because you
So
see,
that's
like, it's that
fun.
instant gratification, right? Like, I
Uh-huh.
posted something and here it is, and here people are reacting to this. Someone said, "Hi, mom," and we had a good laugh about that. And
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, dang, I need to make something funny as well." So let me send this.
Yeah. Like it
That's
almost
great.
makes them compete to be called out, right?
Exactly, exactly. That's what they're doing. I can see. Oh,
All right.
funny.
So, I saw a question come in from Sammy, I believe. What is your favorite feature of Restream? And I'll let you maybe demo that.
Yeah, totally. Well, let me see. Here I am back with my little chat overlays and my little spring things. Actually, why not keep them around when I'm talking? So there are a lot of different ones that I could highlight. I definitely like to talk about chat overlay, and because that's relatively new. But like
Yeah.
if we start with I guess, with the basics, like one of my favorite things personally for me is the events feature, that you can actually create a live streaming event in Restream Studio in advance, because I'm a planner. I'm very much of the, like, I'm not an
Oh,
instant live
girl.
streamer person.
You and
I
okay, hold on. Question. Pop quiz.
Sure.
How many whiteboards do you have?
Oh gosh. So I have a couple of digital ones, and I have one physical. How many do you have? I'm sure you have a lot.
6 physical.
6 physical. I have a couple of virtual too, but like there's only one.
Okay.
There's only one. Oh my god, I'm leveling up. This is a whiteboard shame right here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, how many Ferraris do you have? Oh my god, one. Dang, I didn't make it in life. So but definitely, like, for me, this is very important, because I think that going live instantly sometimes is a fun thing to do, and I want to keep it that way. I want it to be kind of like once in a lifetime event, but most of the time I want to make sure I schedule things, and I want to make sure that my community and my audience has the opportunity to set the reminders, plan for it as well, and show up so they know exactly when I'm live. So with scheduling, you have two different ways that you can approach that, right? One is schedule your live stream, and that is what I do most of the time. You create your title, you create your description, you set the date and the time that you want to go live. You upload your thumbnail, which is just whatever you have, and then voila, you just go to your next, and then you select the channel where you want it to go, and then you click create event. So then, actually, let me go ahead and demo it. Like, I'm just going to turn off all the Restream channels so it doesn't my crazy test doesn't pop up everywhere. But once you do that, it's going to just create this event where you can later on edit certain things. You can actually say, you know what, never mind. Actually, I do want it live on all the Restream channels.
Mm-hmm.
And if you happen to do something like YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, in that case, it actually allows you to also land people on that specific page. So you can actually send the link to this event, and I'm sure it's going to, like, this specific thumbnail. It's not going to look great, but this is where you see, like, this is where your audience can set the reminder, and this is that URL that you can send to people, and basically let them find you at the right time. Because a lot of times, how I promote my streams is I post on social, I send an email, I say, hey, this is my show, this is when it's going to happen. So I find this feature really helpful and really cool. And of course, if you feel like, actually, never mind, I don't want this, you can just delete it, and it's going to automatically delete it from all other platforms for you. So you don't have to go back and do one after another. But another thing that is also interesting in the event scheduling part is that you can schedule a recorded video too. So if you're one of those people who want to do that picture perfect thing, you can actually record it, upload it, and then push it live. And it's going to appear with that little live icon for your people on the platforms that you schedule it, and you can hop in the chat and talk to them, but the video is going to be already done, in advance, all picture perfect, nothing, no oopsies, no surprises.
I've actually been meaning to ask you about this. So we're going to get a little detailed here. I always tell people not to go live with a pre-recorded video and act as if it's live, because that breaks trust with the audience, and it's against Facebook terms of service. So when you do that feature, or when you upload a video and then play it live, does it say pre-recorded, or does it what's your guys' thoughts about that?
Right, exactly. So when I create those videos, I definitely make sure that I mark in the description that this is a replay, so people understand that this is a replay. So there are two ways, two approaches I do with this. Number one is I can upload and play pre-recorded video as live, but I'm also in the chat, and I'll also say, hey, I'm here. This is pre-recorded, but I really wanted to see that because, for example, this could be a training course or some kind of a workshop that was created already for me, by me, or by somebody else. And I'm just here to answer specific questions, but we're using that content as live, because the live questions and live chat is still happening, but video just happens to be pre-recorded. So that's one application. We have a lot of people who use it for webinars, for teaching sessions, for trainings, and things like that. And another application is actually taking your recording, so a video or live stream that you did before, and offering that to your community on an alternative day. And I actually had a little video about this on LinkedIn about
Okay.
Groundhog Day experience, when you can actually go live on Wednesday and then you just schedule it again on Saturday, and it's just the same thing. And if a person happened to see it on Wednesday, they're like, is it real? Is this happening? But I agree with you 100%. You have to be very clear that this is not live. This is pre-recorded. This is a replay.
Yeah.
And definitely you don't want to just post it there and go and have a margarita, which would be a wonderful thing. But you definitely want to kind of participate in the chat and make sure you bring value of live to that. But there's something to be said about that pre-recorded piece that you can integrate into your live stream. And then you can actually go live right after, or maybe a little bit before. That's another thing that people do. They go live before, they kind of galvanize their community, aggregate interest, and then they say, okay, so for another 30 minutes, you guys are going to watch something that I recorded earlier, and that's my masterclass. And people just go and see it. So
Yeah.
that's an interesting approach to this part of thing. And you can, of course, always access that from recordings and just schedule it from here. Just do that schedule stream.
A lot of people are in the chat room talking about Lita, which is so I just want to take a moment to say, like, if you guys are interested in figuring out how to go live, you're not confident on camera, or you're worried about doing it consistently, you don't have a lot of confidence on camera yet, this Lita Challenge is all about going live every day in April. We are kicking off April 1st, and we tackle not only, like, you could use Restream Studio, right, to go live into our private Facebook group and actually go live for 30 freaking days. I give you a mission to complete every single day, and then you gain confidence like nothing you've ever thought about before from day 1 to day 30. So I would love to see you guys in here. Have you ever done anything like that?
No, but that sounds so amazing. I do challenges that I couldn't create for myself, but I would so much prefer if someone else would guide me. Like, I did a little micro content challenge in February, when every day I committed to creating 90-second video about something Restream. In the middle of it, I was like, what are you doing? Like, what did you commit yourself to? Because apparently recording a 90-second video does not take 90 seconds. Take it from me. That's what I learned. And it doesn't even take 10 minutes. It takes a little, about X10 time for the final content. But that was interesting, because I'm not very much a pre-recorded type person. And I really wanted to explore it, because a lot of times that microphone performs so great on social. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I did a writing challenge too on my personal Facebook page, when I said, you know what, every day I'm going to write a little story that will fit in an Instagram post. And of course, will also be reposted on Facebook. And just personal stories, something funny, something interesting. And that was also kind of excruciating, because every single day, right? You have to do it because you promised. So I love challenges. And this is great, because for live streaming, when people ask me, like, what's the best way to polish and improve your live streaming skills and quality of your streams, there's only one answer: do it more. And more you do it, better you get.
It takes people about a year to get comfortable on camera, and that's why we go live every day for 30 days and shrink that time from a year to 30 days. And in the Lita Challenge specifically, it's unlike any other challenge out there. I deal with this and this more so than the tech, which is why I love Restream Studio, because I don't have to teach people any tech for them to go, right? They could either just use their phone, or on the desktop, they can just use Restream Studio and just get going, and they can do some fancy stuff. They can have comments on screen if they want to, but it's not about the tech. In order for you to get confidence on camera, you just need to get started. And so the two things together are really powerful. So I love that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
That's
let's
amazing.
get back to the demo. Let's talk about some more features.
Yeah, some other relatively new feature that I also wanted to share with you guys is what we call separate tracks. So that's something that podcasters would really love to hear, and we had a lot of requests from that community for that feature. So I'm going to show you real quick. I'm just going to go back to my video storage and to my recording. So remember that whenever you go live with Restream, it automatically records whatever you create, right? That actually, you have to be on paid plan to unlock that feature, but starting from standard plan, everything records automatically. And there are technically no limitations. Like there's some certain limitations in terms of the hours that we will record. I believe it's 6 or 8 hours depending on your plan. It's a long stream if you ask me. And then like look at the number of this guy. Like I mean, I basically have a tons of recordings, like all my little videos, my challenge, my tasks that I did for community. Everywhere was a poker face. Oh my god! But just look at his face and I'm like, oh gosh, like it's just like that moment when it just pictures it.
Totally.
But then when you are done recording, you have an option to download. And what is different from what it used to be is now you can download, of course, full video, full audio if you want it all mixed in together. You also can have separate audio tracks. So you can actually have your own audio, and you can have the audio from so I obviously played a bunch of little pre-rolls and end rolls during this stream, and this is my guest. So since he entered the name, like I can just download his part only in the audio format. So this is great for repurposing, because if your guest had a little bit of background noise or a little doggy barking on the background or some notifications that he or she forgot to turn off, you can actually isolate all those things, because you can download him and yourself separately. And of course, if there was any kind of videos played in the middle of it, you can also download those. So that's great. I love it. It's new. And of course, the next step in this evolution of downloading is going to be separate video files. So very soon, you'll be able to also download your own amazing image, as well as separately whatever was coming in from the camera of your guests. And if you happen to have 10 guests or multiple guests, those all will be separate video files for you to play with and repurpose.
See, that's really huge, because there are often times. So when I'm switching a show, I'm thinking about repurposing. I'm thinking about, this person is saying something of super value that I want to clip out later, and I want them fully on screen. I don't want me like looking around, you know what I mean? When I'm repurposing, I want them full on screen, and so I always try and switch to their full screen, and I try and think about that while I'm live. But let's face it, I'm not perfect. I mean, we know I'm perfect, but I'm not perfect.
You are.
Right?
You are.
But like, so you have that backup to be able to then just go and clip that from their separate video. That's huge. It's huge. I cannot wait. Yeah. You guys are doing so many great things.
Thank you. That's amazing. Just a couple of no, you're good. Just a couple of hacks that I wanted to show. I'm one of those people who loves to find like shortcuts and unusual, unconventional things. Like I like to figure out a new way to use something that no one ever thought about. So part of a lot of things that I show to my community is just like, hey, here's how you can use this for something it was not designed for. So I'm going to show a couple of those. One is actually just something that not everyone kind of like understands that you can use Restream for it, because there's no like obvious UX for that, which we're fixing at this moment. But for those who just want to dive into this right away, you can record Restream videos in Restream Studio without going live. And how you do that is you go to your settings in your instance stream, and you toggle off all of your destinations. So you basically say no to all the channels that you have added on your dashboard. And then you click go live. I know it's scary, right? But I just did it. I just clicked it. Oh. And this, at this point, is just creating a recording for me. So I can scroll up, start over multiple times, and then I can just go back to that download site and of course, get it for me. So that's one way you can actually record things without going live, because a lot of people are confused about this because there's no record only button just yet.
I actually thought and said in a previous video, and you corrected me on it, that there was no just separate recording video. Yeah. So
here it is. Here it is. It's just right there. Yeah. No, I mean, I know it's one of those like hacky things. I don't know why we did it this way, but it's not common sense, right? But it's there. And actually another one in that same category is like we do have the playing a video in the middle of your stream. Yeah. Like a video source thing, right? Like, so you can select the video. Like this might be too big because we're also live in a different place. I don't know how this is going to go.
I have a video that we can play. Hold on. I have a video already set up and loaded.
So I'm just going to stop this. Yeah.
Okay. This would be like any video, like maybe a countdown timer that you would run, right?
About to leave, already packing.
So you could play that as an example, or any pre-recorded video at all. So yeah, like you can load it on, you can preload it, you can load it on
Yeah.
demand, I should say, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah. So there are basically two ways how you can play like a countdown timer, right? One way is you can go to your video clips and just play from here.
Mm-hmm.
In this situation, what's going to happen, I'm just going to do it for just a quick second. It's just going to completely take over my screen. And as you see, it says your mic is muted while overlay is video is playing. So basically that's the best way for you to do a countdown timer and actually have a complete takeover of your screen for some kind of a pre-roll thing. But you can also do the local source when you actually open a video from your computer, and in that case, it's going to play right next to you. So you can actually provide commentary next to it. So you can start playing it, and you see how it's going to appear just as you guess. So whenever you're ready, you can toggle it in, and then it's just going to play here. And it's kind of quirky right now because I'm live at the same time in a different place. So it's like it's taking a lot of computer power to do it, but it's actually gonna play right next to you, and you can talk over it. And that's an interesting way to. One of my favorite use cases for that is to do like a video bios of your guests. Like that's actually something that Kim Garst is doing. She's one of our partners, and she's amazing. And she's doing the before she introduces a guest, she's just playing that video for the community to show how that's going to work and like what this guest is about, what he or she is doing. So that's cool. That's pretty interesting.
And you could do countdown timers that way as well, so that you have a pre-show where you're actually talking to stream, but the countdown timer is there, right? So things like that. Before we move on, John had asked, what resolution are the recordings?
The recordings in your video storage, you mean?
Yeah, if you're gonna just record.
Right. It depends on what you set your stream to, because we do offer several different levels, and I'm going to show you in a second here in the settings. So here's what I do most of the time. I do the full definition, so it's a full HD 1080p, and if this is what I'm doing, this is what's going to end up in the recording. I can also downgrade that to high definition and standard definition, depending on whatever I'm needing to do. If I want to save some space, if it's something really like not very dynamic when the quality doesn't matter. Remember that the full HD is recommended, especially if you're sharing screen and have some little details, because you don't want them blurry when people watch it on bigger screens. And actually, interesting fact that Restream is one of a very few browser-based solutions that actually provides full HD for both your camera and your shared screen. So when we offer full HD, it's for everything you do. That's why you have the separate settings here for your camera, like your video resolution, and then there is another advanced setting here for your live stream quality. That's where you also want to make sure it's full HD if you want it to be everywhere. Because certain platforms say, hey, we have full HD, but they actually mean full HD for your shared screen. Right. In our case, it's both your camera and everything. And if that's your setting, that's what's going to end up in your recording. So make sure you set it right here, and then that's going to translate into your into what you can download.
Okay. I want to keep talking about resolution here in just a second, but first of all, we got a super chat from Jason. Says, feature request, can we add RTMP to Restream Studio so we can add stream elements and stream labs?
Great question. So we already have something that I was going to share with you as well today, and that's called RTMP Pool. I won't be able to actually really demo that because I'll need more people. I'll need volunteers to assist me in that. But this is what we call our RTMP Pool feature. So what would happen here, and we have a little bit of demo of that on our channel. So if you check out like Restream Twitter or anything, you will see like a video that shows how that works. So basically, this is your RTMP URL and stream key that you can copy, and you can add it to your OBS or Zoom, and then you can toggle in. So basically, in the same way you would toggle in a guest, you can actually bring in that OBS video, like that source, right? Or that Zoom webinar where you can have, 10 people on the screen or 20 people on the screen. And in that case, you kind of overcome that limitation of 10 guests in studio by pulling them from your Zoom. So that's partly what your guys are talking about. So that's an RTMP pool from a different alternative browser source. Actually, chat overlay that Lori was demoing earlier, that's also a browser source technically. So
Right.
that's one of the ways of doing RTMP. So we are working on bringing more of those kind of like, I know exactly what you're talking about with
Mhm.
Streamlabs and Stream Elements. You guys want alerts, you want
Yes.
donation alerts and like
Yep.
subscriptions, like that kind of stuff that you can get from very specific websites and put it on your screen in studio and then brand it and then have your guests there and highlight your
Yeah.
comments, all that good stuff. So this is definitely work in progress right now. And as you can
Okay.
see, we're adding more and more of these
Yeah.
layers that you can put on top of the studio. And stay tuned for that. That's definitely coming. It's on the way.
Okay, so I want to pause here for a second because I like to be totally transparent and honest, right? And I, you know, so Restream is what I would call a level 2 service, right? So it traditionally has not had a lot of the functionality of a level 3 software that you download onto your computer and use. And because it's browser based, limitations, right? And once I told Anya, I was like, you know, I expect UIs always to be at level 2. And then you're like, you're talking about all of these things that you're adding and you keep adding functionality like browser overlays, and you guys are really kind of pushing the envelope in terms of me, and I'm getting a little shaky in my boots because it's like the level 2 and level 3s are kind of getting too close to each other now. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, now it's going to get a little like messy for me because you guys are pushing that envelope, and I love that. I love that you're making me shake in my boots.
Yeah, no, and that's actually what we're going after. We are going after that sweet spot, that very hard to find combination between the ease of use, because
Right.
like you mentioned, there are certain things that not browser but actually desktop application type solutions have, like OBS is a great example, that Ecamm is another great example of that. It is definitely more powerful in terms of the things that you can do, but the learning curve is also a little steeper, right? Like
Right.
when you're that yoga teacher or that entrepreneur that is not necessarily video producer or editor, you open your OBS for the first time and it's a daunting and an intimidating experience. You're defeated by it immediately. You're like, oh my God, there's no way I will never learn this thing. So we are at Restream, we take a huge pride into making sure that the interface that we build communicates with our users and make it very seamless, at that 6th grade level writing, right? That everyone can read and comprehend and never feel defeated by that level, right? So on top of that, of course, we want to make sure that we service the community of professionals. And that's why we constantly add on, constantly push that limit while still being just anal about making sure that everybody without any experience can jump in, hop on, start, and feel great about what they can do and how they can do it and how fast they can start. So that's that's what we're shooting for.
When you said it, I was like, okay, sure. And now I'm like, okay, I see where you're going with this. I see where you're going. Yeah. Oops, sorry, wrong question. Let's see. So Doc says, so I'm level 5 because I use Ecamm and Restream 2 plus 3.
2 plus 2 plus 3, exactly. That's awesome. Yeah, that's another cool thing about Restream, that it integrates with all kinds of solutions. You can multi-stream your Zoom meeting. You can pull your OBS stuff into Restream. You can actually multi-stream your gameplay from OBS if you're a gamer streamer. I'm sure some people in the chat are, or maybe their kids are. And of course, Ecamm is another great integration that we have. You can use Ecamm as an alternative to Studio, but then multi-stream it to a bunch of different channels and destinations, including the ones that Ecamm is kind of currently not supporting, such as LinkedIn, for example. I know they're in process, but it's not there yet. But with Restream, you can actually send it to LinkedIn. And of course, doubling, right? Like with Restream, you can send your content to multiple Facebook pages and groups. Mm-hmm. And a couple of YouTube channels. A lot of times that's what I do with my guests. I say, hey, can you add your Facebook to me? So our interview is going to go to both places. And it always works out. So yeah,
and
that's
so
definitely.
When we're talking about simulcasting or multicasting, one of the biggest questions that I see come through to me is, what's it doing to my resolution, right? If I'm sending out 1080 60, let's say, mm-hmm. Are you taking what I'm sending you and then basically just sending that out? Obviously, in Studio we have 1080 30 as the top, but if let's say I'm using Ecamm and I'm sending you as a simulcast feature 1080 60, and then you're sending out that full max resolution to whichever platform, correct? You're not doing any encoding or downgrading or anything like that.
Not on our end. So what we do is we basically take it from you. We're also saving you a ton of bandwidth because it all goes through our service, and then from our service, we spread it out to other channels and destinations. That's why you would see that your computer, your machine, or your internet doesn't feel different if you're sending it to 2 platforms or to 10, because it's all done on Restream side, which is a huge help. But there's at some point you're hitting a little bit of a wall, which will bring in some limitations, which is the AND platform, right? So we don't downgrade it. We take it from you and we send it to the AND platforms. And then they sometimes decide that Facebook, for example, might feel like this is a little bit too much for Facebook. So they will shrink it for you a little bit. LinkedIn is another great example. They actually do not support 60 frames per second. Right. That's just not their live streaming system. Like the whole ecosystem is not designed to support it as of today. I'm sure that might change in the future. But as of today, if you're sending a 60 frames per second stream to LinkedIn, it just freaks out and it says, oh my God, this is we can't do that. So that's why for those platforms we recommend 30, because that's what they can handle. So when you're simulcasting, you kind of have to understand a little bit of what the AND platform is going to do to it. But on Restream side of things, we take it as is and we don't mess with it. We send it exactly as we got it to your AND destinations.
Perfect. I just wanted to clear that up because we get that question a lot around here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why if you record only in Restream and that's 1080p and just download it from there without sending it to any platform, guess what? It's going to be that 1080p because that's what we get and that's what we send out.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you for clearing that up. There are so many features that we haven't even covered yet in Restream, including analytics, which I've covered in different videos. I do want to tackle some of these questions that have been coming through. We are running a little out of time, but any other features that you want to hit on before we go into Q&A?
I just wanted to show my hack because I kept promising to show a hack and I kept forgetting about that.
Yeah, I know. There's so much to talk about.
Because there's so much to talk about. Yeah. So there's lots of information about features and I'm happy to connect with anybody later on and just gonna break down something in particular. But one last thing that I wanted to show you guys is the preview mode that I very often use as an alternative to Zoom calls. So you know how here you have your little guest link, right? And you can actually invite a guest. That's what Luri is doing with me right now. That's why I'm her guest, right? And you see us two working together in that space. So if you copy that link and put it in your Calendly or something like that, you can actually have this experience of you and your person that you're working with your brand, with your logo. With little captions that they don't see, but you can totally be like, all right, I'm just going to guide this conversation and put these things in and remind them about that. So you can actually create branded sales, partners, sponsorship, whatever calls within the same system that you're using for live streaming without ever going live, but just kind of sitting in this preview mode and utilizing graphics, captions, and all these cool settings that you have here. So I just realized that not many people know about this, not many people think about this in that way. And I recently made a short video about that. And it was such a huge hit. People were like, oh my God, I never thought about this. But just imagine how different a pitch call would look if you, instead of Zoom logo, could have your own branded stuff there. And so that's just something I wanted to share with people for as my personal hack to consider. Maybe you guys try it out as well.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of simulcasting and what we were just talking about a second ago, May wanted to know, if I use Restream to go to Facebook, will my audio be modified at all?
So it shouldn't. If you are using something like what I'm using, a standalone mic, right, with audio interface, in your settings, you should be able to select your audio quality. And in your audio quality, there are several little knobs there. We actually recently added high resolution audio, and that's going to also level up. Of course, if your microphone is able to power that. We have echo cancellation, noise suppression, stereo versus audio versus mono, all kinds of different things. So it shouldn't do that. But I personally haven't done a lot of musical stuff with Facebook, so I'm not 100% sure. But I believe whatever we take on Facebook, it should remain within the settings that you chose. So it shouldn't upgrade it.
Perfect. Okay. So going back to questions, let's see. Paul says, so if I buy graphics, meaning from our store,
Hmm.
livestreamingpros.com/store, can I input them into Restream? Yes. So you won't be, so some of our graphics are not meant for Restream. You guys don't do like transparency yet. Animations, things like that. So there are certain things in our store that you guys might not be able to use. But I mean, look at what I was, already using this graphic right here, right? Some of our backgrounds,
Yep.
um, and countdown. Not transparent countdown timers, but countdown timers.
Mhm.
So we have. I was looking for a border. There we go. Like borders, anything that you see in our store that you
Yeah.
might see like that, things like that. So there are certain ones that you will definitely be able to use in Restream for sure.
Yeah, great question. And definitely, I'm so glad to hear you guys are offering those because that's a big pain point. A lot of people don't know how to design graphics, myself
Yeah,
included. But
myself included.
you don't want to see my design graphics. Like it's a traumatizing experience.
I know, me
But
too.
yeah,
That's why
it's
we have the magical Mr. Paul Dixon. He takes care of
exactly.
everybody.
Exactly. And it's so great when you can just buy it and it's beautiful. I'm sure you guys can maybe do some custom things if someone really
Yeah.
wants them. So yeah, it's great stuff.
Speaking of which, is transparency and animation coming?
Animation is on our radar big time. So
Okay.
we're kind of trying to experiment with what kind of things we're going to do first. Right now, what is on our mind in terms of product and development teams is the animated background, because that's kind of like one thing that we're playing with right now, and see if we can show that. But then, of course, the next level would probably be animations,
Okay.
animated overlays, and potentially even countdown timers and more
Awesome.
sophisticated things like that. So yeah, definitely looking into the animation
Cool.
side of things. Yeah, I can't wait to get those monsters, not just popping up,
I
but
know, right?
actually dance around and move. So yeah, I'm championing that myself. Now when I saw him, I'm
Like
gonna bring him
I
live.
want lamb.
Yeah, I want him to dance.
Mike says, I just signed up to Restream recently. Can I use chat overlay when streaming from within Ecamm? So, chat overlay would be like a studio thing. So you're going to be
Right.
that wouldn't be connected in any way that I can think of. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm not an ecom expert, unfortunately. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing because I have an account and I played with it was like older version when it just came out. So I'm not sure, but in the studio space, you definitely can use it.
Right.
That way, also if you're using Ecamm as a virtual camera, like if that's your main application there, but you're still in the studio space, it's definitely going to work. We have a lot of partners who do that specific way because they love to use Ecamm as a virtual camera and then studio space as to highlight comments and overlay chat and captions and stuff like that.
Lisa wanted to know, where was that question? I lost it. Hang on. Lisa says, do you ever use Restream with events where you want people to register for the event? Basically paid events. And how would you use that practically?
This is a great and very on time question because actually on April
Oh,
1st, in a week from now, I am going to do a demo. I'm
oh,
actually having a show with Hey Summit, which is one of the basically like paid like, exclusive event platforms. It's similar to, I don't even know, like Hey Summit, right? Like that's where you can create events. And what I'm going to show you guys is how to connect the two. And basically, the concept that I'm offering is that the best way to do that is to go live on all your social platforms for free for a pre-game. Like think about it as a pre-show, pre-game, when you just start to kind of galvanize the community, maybe give a little bit of a teaser for your event, maybe give a little bit of a hint of who the keynote speakers are going to be, or maybe even let them in for a couple of minutes, just introduce themselves and start the conversation. So now your community that you built, so you put so much time building across different social platforms, is already aware about your summit. They already see a little bit of what this is going to be like, what kind of speakers they should expect, what kind of topics are going to be covered, and then using chat functionalities and of course using your captions and calls to actions visually, you can land them on that specific event. So if you're already using something like Hey Summit, you can say, hey, this is our pregame. And now if you want more, if you want that exclusive content, then register to this event. And that's how you can capture leads and get all the emails and of course follow up with those attendees later on. Another way you could use Restream for closed events is if you send your stream into your closed Facebook group or unlisted YouTube event. So that's also an option, because in that case, one of the things that you can do with Restream that I'm not sure if people are aware remember that moment when I showed you like a bunch of different channels that you can toggle on and off in your settings? You can actually toggle them on and off in the middle of your stream. So what you could do is you could send your live stream to all your social platforms, start galvanizing the community, talking about the event, and then say, okay, so the rest of it is going to be really exclusive, and that's only for my members of my Facebook group. Toggle off all your channels as you go, leave just that Facebook group only, or that unlisted YouTube event, or that private LinkedIn event for the sake of this argument, and then continue with your event there without restarting your stream, without closing anything and starting all over. So you don't have to lose your flow. You just keep going by toggling off certain channels. So that's another little hack or workaround for that. But you can also combine with a virtual event platform. So basically, dealer's choice.
I like that. That's a really great hack and great flow to think about. So if you are doing paid events, good stuff. And I have one question, and then we're going to tackle one final question from Carlos. Stream Deck possibilities?
Stream Deck, yeah, that's a good one. So Stream Deck is it's a very common request. It's actually one of the most common things that people ask from us during our Q&A sessions and just in general. It's extremely convenient, and I totally get it. It's just like not a very trivial task to solve.
Right. Oh,
because
I can imagine. I always
for web browser, for browser application,
exactly.
It's really difficult to connect the two because, for example, typical commands that you would want is to toggle on and off a guest, right? For example, but like which guest? Like, do you want to program it every time? Do you program it once for all the streams?
Yeah.
How does it know who to toggle in or out when you have 2 guests versus next time when you have 4 guests? So there's a little bit of that going on there, but we are definitely thinking about this. Okay. Another alternative that so there are 2 ways to approach that, right? One is to take something like Elgato Stream Decks, which already exist, and just figure out how to connect the 2 worlds, the Restream Studio and that deck. Option 2 is to create hotkeys. So basically say, all right, so you don't have to connect the Stream Deck, you don't have to think about how these 2 worlds work. But if you say, if you post Command F or Command G or Command H, like that's going to do certain things within the studio for you, which is essentially the same as Stream Deck. It's just, it's commands. And we have some of them already. So you can already press M and it's going to mute your microphone. I believe the V is going to turn off your camera, and the S is going to pop up your settings. So we're kind of like exploring that space. And I am personally, I hear you guys. Stream Deck would be great. Stream Deck would be great. So we are definitely looking in that direction. But right now we don't have any kind of, unlike animated backgrounds, for example, like I can tell, this is in the works. The deck is more in the research stage right now. And we're definitely getting that feedback. And more you guys talk about it, more great evidence we have for our developers and product team members to just brainstorm and hackathon this. Yeah, totally. So keep bringing them up. Totally. I think that's great. Like more you squeak, like the squeaky wheel gets, whatever it gets, right? the iced coffee. So like more you talk about something, like eventually, people will listen. So and that's why I always recommend when people, talk about like Instagram, why this is not allowed, like why you can't do that. Well, talk to Instagram. Tell Instagram like, hey, we want to multi-stream to you. Make it happen. And so definitely, I love feedback, and I appreciate when people are sharing their pains and needs, because that's what we're here to solve, right? To remove your pains and turn them into happiness and joys.
Am I still
muted? Did you? No.
I was playing with the hotkeys. Am I still muted, guys?
No, you're good. Like I can hear you.
You heard me. You heard me, and they didn't. Okay, it's back. Yeah. Okay, cool.
That's funny. That's so funny. You just do M, right? Like
I did.
No hotkeys.
Stop with the hotkeys all live, Luria.
Yeah. Like I just pressed S, yes, and boom, I have my
I was like, ooh.
Hotkeys are there. Another hack. I don't know what other letters do, so I don't know. Maybe if you put R, it's gonna like launch a rocket on Mars. Like that That might happen. Just saying.
Do not press the R.
Oh my god. That's
Oh, yeah,
hilarious.
exactly. When your hotkeys are way too cool. Oh, that's awesome. All
Yeah.
right, Anya, thank you so very much for hanging out with me today. You guys, if you haven't gotten Restream, I recommend the pro version, but if you can't, get there just yet, then work your way up. At least get started. There is a free version that gets you started, and you get a $10 credit when you do sign up. So I love, love, love having the ability to, do all of the things that we've talked about and more. We didn't even cover a lot of features. So look for other videos I have on this channel about that, or dig in to Restream yourself and play around. So Anya, any final words, thoughts about Restream and to help everybody?
Just go live, guys. It's fun. Look at us. We had a blast. Like, this is my best hour in the week. So, find the good people, work in your community. Don't get discouraged if you don't necessarily get like thousands of views right away.
Yeah.
Keep going and keep experimenting. Make sure that this is your space where you explore things. Don't get discouraged by
Yes.
the gear that you have or don't have. Start small. The best gear you can have is the one that you already own. So
Yeah.
start there, keep building up. And find your thing, find your passion, and once it's there, your streams are going to be amazing.
Ah, thank you so much, Anya, for spending the time with us and answering all the questions and being open to all the suggestions. I adore you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.